Hi everybody and welcome to EHE EdTech Talks. Today we are going to be featuring one of our very own faculty who just recently received Quality Matters certification in Kansai 3940. So we're going to invite Dr. Kathy Montalto up here to speak with us about her experiences having gone through a QM review and the things that were good in the review, the balanced, and the lessons learned.
Thank you, Sarah, and good afternoon to everyone. And I'm happy to have this opportunity to share a little bit about my experience with the Quality Matters review process. And so to me, what is Quality Matters? Well, it seems to me Quality Matters is kind of this body of knowledge, these best practices, and these group of people that have really wonderful understanding about how we can design our courses that will ultimately improve the student learning outcomes. And as a faculty member, I'm all about that. And so I'll give you a little background on my journey to this QM process. I had been teaching a course here at the university for many, many years that was a large enrollment undergraduate course, and a course that had the potential of enrolling students from our regional campuses. And I was approached during the summer of 2013 with an opportunity to think about bringing that course into an online delivered format. And by delivering the course in an online delivered format, it allowed me to continue to reach the large number of students in Columbus that wanted to take the class, as well as students that are on our regional campuses, as well as students that might be doing internships and taking some courses concurrent with that. And it kind of relieved the constraint of needing to have a physical space a large physical space for the students that were on the Columbus campus. So I took that opportunity to begin to convert my course to an online delivered format. And I benefited greatly from working with Laura Fathauer, who was part of our EdTech team at that time in the College of Education and Human Ecology. And she really guided me through thinking about how my course was structured and organizing my course so that it could be really effectively delivered in an online type of format. And although I don't think Laura ever used the words Quality Matters with me when she was working with me, I really do think that was what she was following. So I taught my course in the autumn of 2013, 100% online. Did a little bit of tweaking before I taught it again in spring of 2014. And then I had the opportunity to actually go through an informal Quality Matters review with our EdTech people within the college. And so I did that over the summer of 2014. I put together some documentation about my course, and then 3 of our EdTech staff reviewed my course and gave me some really constructive feedback on the course. So here are some concerns I had as the instructor. When you're delivering a course in a 100% online situation, the materials that you put up for the students, number one, have to convey the subject matter that you want them to become familiar with. But you also kind of have to help the students understand how to use that material so that they're prepared for assessments that come up, and ultimately so that they are meeting your learning outcomes. And when you're delivering this information in a 100% online format, you don't see their faces, you don't have regularly scheduled time when you know you're with them to deliver information. And so that content somehow has to be a part of the course and accessible to the students. So I was all about, how can I make my course do that? How can I make it clear to the students how they should be using the information that's in this online course? Where do they start? Where do they go next? If they have troubles, what do they need to do? So we did the informal review, and I got really great recommendations on how to address some of those concerns that I had, and I made those changes to my course, and then taught the course again in the autumn of 2014. And then it was that following semester in the spring of 2015 that I was encouraged to go through a formal Quality Matters review. And I said, okay. Now I was teaching a full load of classes that term, so I think I invested about 2 months of my time, not full time, right, because I'm teaching and doing all the other responsibilities, but it took me about 2 months to work with our EdTech staff to understand how to go about creating documents to launch this Quality Matters review. And so we submitted my materials, and then the review process began, and I had 3 reviewers on that review as well. The process was really quite collegial. We opened the process with an opportunity for all of us to meet by a WebEx conference, and I could share with them a bit about my course and my goals for the review process, and any areas that I was really wanting some good guidance and feedback. And then my reviewers took that information and spent lots of time looking at the course. And in about 2 months' time, I had feedback from those reviewers. One of the big outcomes of the process for me was this whole idea of what in QM terminology is called a course alignment map. And the course alignment map really is a map of how everything within the course relates to one another. So it's kind of the basic of course design, right? So in your course you have learning objectives or learning outcomes for the entire course. And then you have instructional units, or I call them modules. And those modules also have learning outcomes or learning objectives for the students. And to help the students meet those, you assign things for them to do. You assign things for them to read, you assign exercises for them to complete, you assign discussions for them to be engaged in. And then you have methods of assessing if the students are learning the material. So the course alignment map that they actually asked me to create as a part of this process took information that I knew existed. I knew my course objectives were related to my module objectives, and I knew that each piece of instructional material I was asking my students to use related to those objectives, and that I was assessing the student learning. But I had never sat down and really captured all of that in a document. And that's what the course alignment map really ends up being. It shows how all those parts of your class are connected. And one thing that was valuable about that process for me is that I did see areas where I was maybe a little heavy in content and areas where I might have been a little thin. So creating that course alignment map, I think, gave me that motivation to really sit down and carefully, to make the time to really sit down and carefully think about my course and write it all out so that I could see that the connections I thought were there were really there. And then by looking at that map, I could identify places to change content in the course or change learning activities I had students doing or change ways I was assessing my students to better reach those learning outcomes for the students. So that was one key benefit of the whole process for me. And I don't know that my students really care about my course alignment map. I do have it up on my Carmen course, and they can open it up if they want to. But for me, it was a really good process for me to see how the course connected together. Now, what the students do see, I want to talk a little bit about these narratives. So one of the other pieces of feedback in this review process for me was that my course would benefit if I would think about a very intentional way of telling my students how all of these things relate to one another. And we ended up thinking of these as narratives that I was going to write. And so what these narratives are is they're kind of short, brief statements that I have at the opening of every one of my online modules that talks about what we're doing in that module and what the student needs to do to complete the module. So rather than the student, before I made this change, when the student opened my module, there was kind of a list of things. And my thought as a teacher was they would start at the top and work through them. I mean, I did have them in chronological order. But what's better about my course now is that when the students open it, rather than seeing just a list of things, they see a nice paragraph that tells them what we're doing in this module, describes what they should do, and kind of the order that they should do it. So if they read this, they're prepared to take this quiz. If they watch this video, they're prepared to participate in this group discussion. So I've got that introductory narrative at the top of each module, and then I even went through and narrated every piece of material that's in my course. So for each reading they do, I talk about why the reading's important. For each learning activity I ask them to do, I talk about how that learning activity contributes to the course. So I think that narrative was another piece that was a real positive outcome of the process, and answers that need I was feeling for how do I make sure my students know how to navigate my course. One other layer of navigation that we added to the course was now when students land on the Carmen page or the learning management system page for my class, there is the first item on that home page is an item that tells them how to navigate the class, tells them to open the first module, and my first module is a module about the course, and read the first item posted there. And the first item posted there describes to them how the whole course is set up. So again, I think those are like small things that we added to the course, but things that really help from the student's perspective, being able to come into that course and engage in the course right away and know how to work through the material. So overall, the review process was really a very, very positive experience for me. We captured some comments from the review that I'm going to turn over and let Sarah talk about.
So the review teams, as you've already heard, are made up of 3 folks, and one person is the master reviewer, and the master reviewer is the one who provides the final feedback to the faculty member once the 3 members of the team have actually reviewed the course. What we wanted to highlight in this particular slide is the positive feedback that faculty members receive in this process. It is not a negative process. The process is really to provide colleagues providing recommendations to colleagues, and ultimately what we found in Kathy's experience is that the master reviewer absolutely recognized the value that Kathy, the time that Kathy put into the review and the revisions that were made, ultimately to see that the course is being recommended as an exemplar course for Quality Matters, and as a fantastic example of what can be done to not only help students in that navigation, but really with this alignment map really topped it off. And it was a lot of work. Kathy will tell you it took a lot of time to do, but in the end it really paid off, and it shows in the comments.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. So that's our good. We also wanted to talk a bit about the balance, so some pieces of the process that were important. And I'll just come back to terminology. I think one of the biggest hurdles for me in the process was simply understanding terminology. So, for example, one of the suggestions that came out of the review process for me is that I could strengthen my course if I clearly articulated to my students the technology that they needed and the technical skills that they needed. And when I first read that comment, I was having a very hard time distinguishing between what technology and technical skills were. So I could reach out right away to Tim, and Tim said, "Oh, Kathy, here we have some samples of how faculty have described to their students the technology. So they need a computer, they need an internet connection that is, high speed, and the technical skills, they need to know how to use a word processing package, a database package, a spreadsheet package." And so I'm like, oh, it makes sense to me now, and now I can incorporate that information so that my students are prepared for the class. If they're going to need to, open Adobe documents, you need to tell them that so they're sure to have the reader. So that's an example of terminology. Another terminology piece I will share with you is this whole idea of what a course alignment map is. So I talked a lot about the course alignment map, and I created one, but when those words were first shared with me, I had no idea what we were talking about. But again, I reached out to the lead reviewer in the formal review process, and she could provide samples with me. I reached out to Sarah, and Sarah provided me not only with samples from other people, but Sarah actually went into my course and she said, "So here, let's think about how the course alignment map would look for this particular objective in your class. And she actually took one of my objectives and kind of mapped out what it looked like. She sent that to me. I read it. She then met with me, and we spent about an hour and a half talking about the course alignment map. And at the end of that meeting, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I understand now what I am doing, and I understand what that terminology is. So those are just a couple examples. So there is some language that Quality Matters speaks that may not be language that faculty use on a day-to-day basis. But I had great resources to help me get over that. Another really important part of the process is the availability of people to help you, to consult, to answer your questions. We have great staff within the college that are always available to help and answer questions, and really very, very promptly. We have consultants available at the university level. So again, I reached out to Tim because Tim was also part of my review process. And then the external reviewers that I had. So having those resources out there, people willing to answer questions, people willing to share sample information, people willing to sit down with you and talk very specifically about your course, people willing to take things you've done and review it for you and give you feedback along the way. Better to get that feedback and know you've got a really strong document to submit back. I also want to speak a bit to workshops. So at the beginning of this process, when I started to hear about Quality Matters, I did take advantage of workshops that they offer at the university to learn more about Quality Matters and what that is and how you can use Quality Matters to really influence your course design. So I would encourage people to take advantage of those types of resources as well. Another thing we'll talk about is feedback. So the review process is very interesting. So I'm referring here now to the formal review process in particular. So I spent a lot of time preparing the initial documentation that we submitted for review and got a lot of internal feedback in that process from people here at Ohio State. Then I submitted my documents for the formal review, and those external reviewers could be people here at Ohio State or could be people on other campuses. So that external review group looked at the materials I submitted, wrote up their reactions, their very constructive suggestions for things that I could consider, no mandates that I had to do anything at all, but suggestions for things I could consider. And in the assessment of my reviewers, there were 2 standards out of a whole lot of Quality Matters standards you have to meet. There were 2 that I was weak on. And rather than them moving forward with the process, knowing I was weak on 2 standards, they offered me an opportunity to readdress those standards. And the process is just designed to let you do that. There's a whole process for making changes and then submitting an amendment to your review. And really the 2 standards I was weak on are the standards that resulted in the creation of my course alignment map and in the creation of those narratives that I added to my class. So that was great. I got feedback from the review committee. They gave me they gave me the option, do you wish to address these 2 areas of weakness, or do you just want the process to move on without you addressing them? I chose to address them. They give you a window to do that, and then you can resubmit those amendments. So the feedback was really very helpful, and then related right to that, the review really affected the design of my course. My online course looks very different when you open it up now than it did before I started this process. And I think it looks friendlier because there are words and guiding pieces rather than just opening a page and having a list of many things posted or lots of text to read. So the review really did affect the design of my course. And I can't say enough about the supportive collaboration really at all levels. I mean, it kind of starts with your colleagues in your department. I had casual conversations with other faculty in the department just around issues related to teaching and course improvement and course design. And then you have the professional staff that works in the area of instructional design that were really, really wonderful. And then we have the resources at the university level. And then I would even put into that supportive collaboration the members of the review team, because they were really great about providing feedback.
Okay, next we're going to have Tim Lombardo come up and tell us a little bit about what ODEE provides faculty as they go through the QM process from beginning to end, or pre-beginning, I guess.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Catherine, very much. I mean, that was a great way to kind of bring your experience with the QM review to everyone. So, at Ohio State, my name is Timothy Lombardo. I am an instructional designer in the Office of Distance Education and e-learning. And basically, we live in a city. We work in a city here at Ohio State. And when I got here a few years ago, I realized that there were pockets of colleges that were doing quality matters. So, you had education and human ecology that was, on board with quality matters. The College of Arts and Sciences, they were using an adapted rubric. And so we found that there were these pockets of people who were interested in quality matters out there. And so one of my goals was to create an informal committee revolving around quality matters, so we can bring everyone together rather than doing it separately. So what we did, we kind of went out there, tried to find out who was interested, who's doing this out there. We had education, human ecology. I found, again, arts and sciences, but there were people that were, there were faculty members in the College of Business, the Fisher College of Business, that were interested in quality matters, and they're using the quality matters standards. We have, people in the College of Dentistry for their online courses that were interested in quality matters. So trying to bring everyone together, it's a lot easier. We can kind of move mountains when we try to do it together. So that's why I created this QM committee. We kind of meet on a quarterly basis just to kind of help each other, try to get the word out about quality matters. How does the colleges need support from the other colleges, and to get things moving and get more courses reviewed, get more of the curriculum revolving around quality matters. We also offer a bunch of other incentives. So we do the face-to-face and online quality matters workshops that Catherine mentioned about the workshops, and to help support those, since they do cost money to attend, we offer grants in order to cover the cost. So we actually cover the cost for the 3 different levels of workshops that are available to anybody that's interested in quality matters. There is the first one, which is the baseline, which is the Applying the Quality Matters rubric workshop. Then if you want to learn to become a peer reviewer, to look at courses, to be a peer reviewer on these online courses, there's a workshop on that. And then eventually you can become that lead reviewer by going through the Master Reviewer certification. So we offer grants for all 3 levels. Also, just if you're doing an online course and you try to figure out, and you take a look at the rubric, oh my goodness, how do I even get started with these 41 standards? We offer a Carmen-based shell that you can download from the internet. We have a zip file that you can download, and that meets a lot of the standards already. All you have to do is, basically kind of put in your information. And the nice thing about Quality Matters is it looks at the design, and it doesn't look at the delivery. So we're not telling you what to teach, but here is the best possible solution to help you kind of get that jump start on your course that's going to meet a lot of those standards, have all that information, give you guiding best practices to meet if you were to go towards a QM certification. And just even talking one-on-one. We love, talking to, faculty. I met Catherine through this review, and it really was, at first a consultation. She had questions about everything, and just sitting down and talking about what your needs are for quality matters and how it can help guide the design of your course. So I'm going to hand it over to Sarah.
Okay, so when it comes to what EdTech offers our faculty, it really is a wide range of services. We start with the very basic, which would be just the QM aligned syllabus. We have partnered with the curriculum committee in EHE to create standards that the EHE curriculum committee even expects when a course goes through for approval. So you would actually be asked to work with us on that process, and the guidelines are available on their website as well. But we can sit down with faculty and we can work with you one-on-one to help guide you through that process and help you with what those expectations are. Anytime a request comes in for a course to be developed by our instructional designers, they are always quality matters aligned. Whether or not it is a specific subscription to the Quality Matters or whether the faculty member intends on going through a review or not, all designs are based in Quality Matters. We also offer the internal or the informal review. You've heard Kathy speak about it, and it is something that we started roughly about a year ago internally. We've done several at this point as a way to not only help faculty prepare for the official review, but even if faculty don't want to go through the official review, we can provide the informal review simply as a way to provide some of that feedback as that basis to create the best possible course for to enhance your student learning. As a result of the issues with the terminology that Kathy spoke about in meeting a post review, we being Kelvin and Kathy and Tim and I all decided that what we really needed to do was create a glossary. We have not actually started on this yet. It is something that's going to go to the QM committee, I believe. But it is something that is coming about as a result, because every time a course goes through an official review, we all learn something new. And this is something that we realize that we really should be providing to our faculty, so we are learning in this process as well. And then finally, we have sample alignment maps. So what we do have is this available to faculty if you're interested in even just looking at an alignment map to see what it is, how to go about creating them, because they take all different kinds of shapes and sizes, and they look different. And what worked for Kathy may not work for someone else, or for courses even. If Kathy does this again, and I hope she does, it may look very different for another kind of a course. It just depends on the development of the course and the faculty member. And I'm going to ask Kelvin to come up and kind of talk about this graphic that kind of takes you through what the process is for faculty in EHE.
You've already heard about the QM11, which is basically concentrates on your syllabus. Then we have the internal review, which we've talked about. And then it ultimately goes down to the official QM review. It's not progressive. It doesn't go stepwise. If we're up here at just looking at the syllabus with the QM review, or QM11, we can go back and forth. We went back and forth multiple times getting the syllabus to just the right feel for the course and for your way of teaching. But it captures everything that QM wants to do. Same thing happens on the internal. We have 3 people look at each course. Sometimes we have 4, but usually it's 3. And we give feedback. We send the feedback back to the faculty member, and they question us, and we go back and forth. Again, we refine the course by this process. Then finally, we have the QM review, and while there is an exterior team doing it over here, the official, the hometown team is also talking with the faculty member and going, oh, they mean this, and we can help you with that. It's colleagues working on a common project. For the QM11, you're supposed to take the applying the QM rubric sometime before you get to the QM review. I like to have people do it sooner than later because that information is very, very useful in this entire process. It doesn't have to happen then, but that's where I put it in on this graphic. We look at 7 of the 8 standards. Number 6 is the one that is not geared towards the syllabus. Most of the other standards are geared towards your syllabus, so we look at those heavily. We have an opportunity then, you have your syllabus all put together, you go over, you start, and you teach with it. And as you heard Kathy say, she tweaked it a little bit after she taught it the first time. She tweaked it again the next time she taught. So we're always in a cycle. For the internal, we get a little more information. For the internal and the actual review, there is a worksheet that you provide for your course. Part of that worksheet is your syllabus, and then there's some other information. Part of it, a key part now, is the alignment map. This is a change from 4 to 5, I believe, right?
In rubrics.
QM, in the rubrics. In the current rubric, we have the 5th one. It really looks at the alignment, and for obvious reasons. You get to go through your course with a fine-tooth comb and say, yes, all these dots connect, and that's what that is supposed to be for. Again, you would teach the course. We are now looking at all 8 standards, and we would be looking at all of that at the time that she's actually teaching or he's actually teaching. And finally, well, not finally, for the QM review proper, all the same things are needed. So if you've done the internal review, your paperwork should be pretty much done. You just have to tweak little bits here and there, and then you turn that in. Tim gets involved with this process, and the committees are formed to do the reviews. We've talked about it, and I want to give you a sample of who could be on. You have the professor, you have the QM coordinator, Tim, or someone like him. They're the ones that start locally. Then this is pushed to QM, and QM says, okay, you want to do a review? We'll grab 3 people. You notice there are 3 reviewers. Those 3 reviewers have to perform some of these functions. The master reviewer, which you interacted with quite a bit, the lead. Then there is the outside reviewer, and then the content matter expert. Could be another person here at this university. Often is another person at another university. But these roles could, all 3 of those could be performed by one person who's outside, who is the lead and is the content expert. Be a lot of work. So normally those roles are split up between the 3 reviewers. I've actually participated in 2 outside reviews. I was the outside reviewer. It's a big responsibility, and it's a lot of fun, I have to say. It's a lot of work, but a lot of fun. I got to interact with a master reviewer. We got to listen, do a webinar with the professor in both cases. We got a lot of good insight, and this process really, really works. Oh, okay. To help things out here in Ohio State, OD has done a lot of good things with the templates and things. We also use the Learning Object Repository, part of our learning management system. That allows us to put learning objects into a person's course with very little effort on that person's part. All of the policies, all of the technical things, tutorials for the students, everything that is standard across all the courses, we've gathered together in one module. All Kathy had to do in her case was to drop that one module into her course, and a lot of those standards were met simply by dropping that one module in. Here's the advantage. Kathy didn't have to go out and verify all these things existed, or even that they're up to date. At the EdTech, we take care of this, and we make sure that's all working, so that everybody in the College of EHE can use these without a lot of fuss and muss on their own part.
Okay, so I think at this time, we just want to thank everybody for coming. We want to congratulate Kathy on a job well done and for the QM certification of ConSci 3940, and we're going to provide you with our contact information. Should you have any questions about Quality Matters, you want to learn more about it, you can contact Tim Lombardo, you can contact me or Kelvin. And to actually start the process, you can contact me or Kelvin, or I'm sorry, Tim, because we are both coordinators at Ohio State, and we can get the ball rolling. Again, thank you, Kathy, for your time today, and congratulations.
Thank you.